You're listening to the Toolstation Western League podcast with Ian Knockholds and Tom Hiscott.
Welcome listeners to another episode of the Toolstation Western League podcast with me, Ian Knockholds, and I am delighted to be joined back at the Royal Oak by Tom Hiscott. Here we are in the heart of Bath. Tom, it's another lovely day, another lovely August day, and plenty of football to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. The midweek, plenty of matches, looking back and looking forward. So yeah, it's really picking up. I'm sure the players are enjoying getting back into the swing of it, and plenty of, as you say, plenty of matches and plenty of minutes in the legs early season.
Did you have a sporting weekend?
Indeed, yeah. Went to Twerton Park to see the previously table-topping Bath City against Tonbridge Angels, who were very disappointing. Came for a 0-0, got a 0-0, and Bath City missed a penalty, so it was a pretty dull afternoon, if I'm honest. Well,
I was trundling around Swanage with my family. We went for a camping weekend, so unfortunately I didn't get my usual football fix, but I'm glad at least one of us did. Anyway, we are here to talk about the football that started really on Tuesday the 13th of August, and we had an FA Cup extra preliminary round replay. Well, the home side was Cribbs, the visitors were Wellington, and it was an emphatic victory, this one, Tom.
Yeah, so obviously they'd drawn only a couple of days previously, but very much not the case this time around. Cribbs, 5-1 victors, and it was mainly thanks to a stunning spell at the end of the first half. Charlie Oldham had put Cribbs ahead, and then 3 goals, as I say, in the space of just about 5 minutes just before the break. Jacob Hodgson, Joe White and George Keller pretty much put the result beyond doubt, a 4-0 half-time lead. Keller then adding a fifth in the early stages of the second half, before Ian Bellinger got a late free kick for the visitors. But yeah, Cribbs roll on to the next round. And
then moving on to Friday, a bit of Friday night football. A really interesting match-up in the First Division. 2 sides that have started their campaigns very well indeed, and high expectations on both of these sides. Calm Town were the visitors to the Theatre of Cheese.
And the Theatre of Cheese, those fans there will have gone home happy, or the majority of them. A 4-1 win for Cheddar, as you say. Two teams with pretty high aspirations, I'd imagine, this season. And it was an 18th minute lead they got through Dean Griffiths, with James Difford then scoring his first for the club to help double the lead. Robbie Maggs was then sent off for Cheddar, so obviously giving Khan a bit of a hand, but then Adam Wright and Griffiths once again put the result beyond that, adding a couple more goals for Cheddar, and eventually running out 4-1 victors.
Well, we move on to Saturday the 17th of August, which is the real meat and drink of this week's podcast. A very full schedule of fixtures in the Premier Division, and a pretty healthy bunch of fixtures as well in the First Division. We kick off with a real top of the table clash, Bitton against Exmouth Town. Of course, we had Exmouth on the podcast already this season. I'm not sure how many people were really talking them up before the season started, but they've certainly started incredibly well, and that phenomenal start continued at Bitton.
A 1-0 win, a slim win, but it certainly opens everyone's eyes to how good this Exmouth team could be. Obviously, we're all learning about how good they are and what have you, but a 1-0 win away at Bitton, all 3 points coming thanks to a first half strike from Ace High, which is an absolutely amazing, I think probably the best name in the league. So I had to triple check it, quadruple check it on the weekend just to check it wasn't a nickname or something, but no, that is his name, and I hope he scores plenty more goals this season for Exmouth.
So our next featured game, before we move on to that, there were some very big scorelines. I think if you wanted goals, then the Western League was certainly the place to be. Parkway scoring 5 at Bridport, Bridgewater scoring 8 at Chipping Sodbury Town. But the next featured game also features another very high scoring match, and it was Odd Down. They were at home to Brislington, and of course Brislington we've spoken about a couple of times on the podcast already this season, because they've got off to a good start this season.
They had, but Odd Down in their first home game of the season, had a really good result, a 5-1 victory over Brislington. Early goals from Curtis Dunn and Rico Best giving them the perfect start, before Jaden Nielsen pulled a goal back for the visitors from the spot. After Oakland Buck had been fouled in the box. But then it was Dunn who added his second in the man of match performance to extend Odd Down's lead back out to 2, with Adnan Hiroli and then Dane Edwards both converting from corners during the second half to complete the win, and a 5-1 victory for Odd Down, and a really good start for them at home.
Well, Odd Down have always been very good to us here on the podcast, and their manager at the moment, of course, we spoke to him on last season's podcast, Lee Rendall, he's also been really great to speak to. So I took this opportunity to catch up with Lee, and I started off by congratulating him on that impressive home win against Brislington.
Yes, mate, especially after the week before against Street. We were extremely poor on the day. A big game for us, being FA Cup, and let ourselves and the club down. So we needed a response, and we got it against a very good Brit side, mate. They've had a good start, beat some good sides, but compliments to our lads. They turned up on a day and done the business.
You've had 2 wins from 3 in the league so far. Are you happy with that start?
I am, mate. I'm happy with the performances. The loss to Westbury was a bit of a lesson for us because I thought a poor decision to give a penalty killed us a little bit, but 2 set-piece goals we gave away. Hopefully we've learned a little bit from that because Westbury have a very, very good side, very direct, but a very good side going forward. And they've got the goals we conceded. We're disappointing, but hopefully we've learned a lesson nice and early in the season because I thought in spells we dominated the game.
You've only had 1 home game so far this season. Has that been an issue for you?
No, not at all, mate. We had a really good pre-season. To be fair, it was a bit of a mixture. We played 2 home games for the pre-season. I think we played 4 or 5 away. So just to get that mix up, and we didn't lose. We were unbeaten in pre-season, which is always a little bit of a risk because you can go into the season a little bit ahead of yourselves. But we didn't. We managed to get a good few games in, and then now we're just we've got the first one out of the way at home. We've got another one this Saturday against Wellington, which will again be a tough game. Wellington always work hard and make life awkward. But we're looking forward to any game that comes our way, mate. Really, because we can turn up on any pitch.
You mentioned before you were happy with your pre-season. Did you have good player availability? Did you have access to the players that you wanted to get your hands on?
Well, first and foremost, mate, after we had a terrible end to last season, I think we won 1 in the last 11, which is unacceptable, and I had to go away and think about how we were going to move forward. So my first and foremost was to get the right person to go alongside me. I worked really hard. That was the first signing. So I managed to get in Gary Powell, who was at Bolton, formerly of Chipping Sobber as well, but he's come in he's a UEFA level B, and he's completely changed how we're doing things. His training is superb. All the players that we wanted have come. He brought a few himself that he knows. They all bought into what we're doing, and it's been superb. The training's been class, and the feel-good factor's back. So it's a really good feel at the club at the moment.
I mean, in terms of the playing personnel that you brought in then, are there any new faces that the fans in particular need to keep an eye out for?
We managed to get, we had Josh Morgan-Williams with us last year, kind of on a dual-reg basis with Froome, and persuade Josh to come back. So he's one of, if not one of the best players in this division. He should be playing a lot higher. So I think we're punching it really to have him, but we've made him captain. Our goalkeeper, George Dorrington, has stayed on, so we made him vice captain as well. A few notable ones we brought in as well. Josh Can at left back, Cayman Harvey at right back, so we replaced both full-backs. Connor Biggins has come in from Brislington. Dane Edwards has come in at centre-half from Chilcompton, and we've managed to persuade Simon Gilbert and Mark Ward to come back as well. Two good additions, experienced. And Jay Murray has come in, actually. We had him last year. He went back to Hengrove to get some experience at this level and to come back and hit the ground running. He's been superb. He's only 18 years old, but he's started in every game we've played so far, so he's been superb.
Now, I know that you're a seasoned Western League watcher, so who do you think, which teams are you keeping an eye on this season? Who do you think is going to go well?
You can't never write off Plymouth Parkway, mate. They're a good organised side, big side. You never write them off. They were close last year, and I'm no doubt they'll be close again. But I do believe as well that Exmouth and Tavistock aren't here to make up the numbers. They'll be up there and thereabouts. And again, you can't write bitten off. Very good side. But they've come close, and I think they'll be up there again, mate.
And what about yourselves? What about Odd Down?
Well, our expectations, mate, on our day at the moment, it's very early doors, so we're really pleased with how it's gone so far. We don't want to get carried away, but there's no reason why we can't have a top 6 finish at all. We've got the quality within the squad. The feel-good factor's back, but we're just taking it game by game. It's a case of when the loss against Westbury was a little bit of a blow, but we've learned from that. The game against Street was really, really poor, but we bounced back against Brislington, and it just shows that we can and I don't think the top 6 finishes out of our realm, without doubt.
So taking it game by game, you've got Clevedon on Wednesday, you've got Wellington on Saturday, you mentioned that before, and then it's Portishead in the Vase. So those are 3 games you've got before the end of August. Do you look at them as 3 winnable games?
Well, like I said, game by game, mate. Clevedon away, very, very tough. They're always good down there. They're well drilled. They've got a good side as well. They've got quality threat inside. So we'll never take any game for granted. It will be tough, but like I said, after what I've seen Saturday, I think we'll give anyone a game. And the likes of Wellington at home will be hard, but that's the sort of games that we should be looking to dominate at home, definitely.
Now, just before we let you go, Lee, we're a couple of weeks into the season now, and of course we've had some new rules to get our heads around. I'm going to try and do a bit of a feature on this in the coming weeks on the podcast, so we can sort of look at everything in detail. But a couple of the things that spring to mind immediately, of course, are the new sin bin regulations, and indeed I know that it's now possible for managers to be sent off from the technical area for infringements. So what have you made of the new sort of refereeing regime so far as you've seen it?
Some of the rules, mate, I agree with. I think that I can see what they're trying to do, and I agree with some of them, and then some of them are pretty ludicrous. The issue I've got is inconsistent officiating. I mean, last year there's so many times where 2 outcomes have come from the same offence, and I think that's what they need to address a little bit more. Saying that, on Saturday just gone, we had Lewis Sando in the middle, and I thought he was superb. He was outstanding. You could talk to him, and that's all you ask for sometimes, because at the end of the day, the referees are humans like us. But if they make a mistake, who punishes theirs? Then it leads to our mistakes, and they punish ours, if that makes sense. But like the sin bins, I can see what they're doing. Do I agree with it? Sometimes maybe yes. But like for example, if a goalkeeper gets put into the sin bin, he's got to come back on outfield. I mean that's ridiculous. So it's some of it's good, and I just don't agree with some of it. So yeah, it's a lot of it I think is they've overthought it a little bit, if that makes sense.
And my thanks to Lee for his time. Now then, moving on to another, I'm going to say surprise package. I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit naughty. Maybe I'm being a bit rude there. A surprise package in the Premier Division. Street took on Keynsham. Well, their good start to the season continues as well.
Yeah, obviously the opposite of Exmouth who've come up. So Street having taken that voluntary relegation. And it looks like they've got a really young side out, but they've started the season really well, so you never know, this could be the start of something new for them. And a 2-1 win over last year's First Division champions Keynsham at the Tannery Ground. Goals in either half from Dan Linham, which got them their latest 3 points. So yeah, good win for Street over Keynsham.
And finally in the Premier Division, Tavistock, another one of the sides that came into the Western League this season with a big reputation. They took on one of the best established sides in the Western League, Bradford Town, of course, a really strong competitor over a number of seasons, and this was a really, really impressive victory, I think, for the Bobcats.
Yeah, indeed, a 4-2 win for Bradford down at Tavistock. Tyson Pollard, very much the star of the show for the away side. He assisted Gary Higdon's opener before then, scoring the game's second to double Bradford's advantage. Liam Prynne then half the deficit just before the break to get Tavistock into the game before Bradford then pushed on after the interval. Substitute Lewis Powell restoring their 2-goal advantage, and then it was that man Pollard again scoring his second of the afternoon to put the result on ice, and a 4-2 win for Bradford away at Tavistock.
And there's extra cause for celebration for the Bradford Town fans, because I did notice on Twitter a day or so ago that there was a congratulatory message for the manager, Wayne Thorne, on the birth of his daughter, Maisie Madison Grace Thorne. Bradford Town have got a new fan there then, excellent, and congratulations to Wayne there and his partner, because that's marvellous.
Another job, another saving. Brought to you by Toolstation.
Is this all the receipts?
Yes, boss.
For everything we got from Toolstation?
Yeah, why?
I just thought we'd spend a lot more than this.
Oh, no. We got all the best brands too. Makita, Santex, Karcher, Nest.
Top job, top saving.
With over 15,000 trade-quality products at prices that are hard to beat, we're here to save you on every job. At Toolstation.com and all 340 branches.
Right then, moving on to the First Division, and our first featured game features another Well, not so new side, of course, to the First Division. We know all about Almondsbury, even though they did leave us for a period last season. But they're back again. They were the home side. The visitors were Portishead Town. And, the visitors have continued their good form this season, Tom.
Yeah, indeed. A 2-1 win for Portishead away at Almondsbury. And, it was a long-range effort from Mitch Osmond that helped them to the 3 points in this one. There was also a penalty from Louis Elliott to hand them their 2 goals. Almondsbury did get a goal back through down lane, falling short, and it was Portishead who claimed the 3 points.
Portishead have struggled in recent seasons, so I've been particularly interested to see how well they've started this season. There's a new name for us here on the podcast in the Portishead dugout. The man is Eamonn Daly. So I thought we needed to get hold of Eamonn to find out a little bit about him and his ambitions for his side this season. And I started off by asking Eamonn about his pathway to the Portishead dugout.
First of all, Ian, thanks for having me on. I'm delighted to be a part of your podcast. I've been involved in football around Portishead now for the last 7 or 8 years. After moving to Portishead, after a period of living in Ireland, I took over a team, a youth form team that played in the Western District League for 6 years, six seasons with those guys. And in that time, got to know a lot of the boys in Portishead. We were very successful over that period of time. Unfortunately, due to probably the lack of funds and our own ground, we progressed as far as we could do. Off the back of that, then I was asked to come and speak to James, James Hughes, who's director of football at Portishead. We sat down last year and had a little bit of a chat. Very impressed with James's drive and ambition for Portishead Town, and joined the club, basically. Joined the club, helping out. I didn't have a role last year such as a managerial role. Helped out a bit of the coaching with the first team and the reserves, and spent most of the time with the reserves last year, which was managed by Dave Reed. Off the back of that last year, I was offered the first team job this year, which I was delighted to accept, and then put together plans for where we want to go, and that was it really. That was my arrival into Portishead Town.
Well, we'll have a chat about your plans for where you want to take the club a little bit later on, but we'll start off with that win at the weekend, 2-1 away from home. You must be delighted.
Oh, absolutely delighted. It was a decent performance. We can do better. We've been working really hard on the training field, and the guys have really sort of bought into what we've been trying to do. And it's getting those standards into place on a Saturday. The first half, it was 50-50. I think Almondsbury and ourselves probably the game sort of died in the middle of the park. Really, we kind of sort of out-battled each other, and then into the second half, we started very well. The boys responded well from our talk at half time, and a fine goal by Mitch just a couple of minutes into the second half really did settle us, which we got on top then, playing some nice football, and deservedly going further ahead. Just shortly after our first goal. Good response from Almondsbury, I would have to say. A decent side, very very solid, very disciplined. And they got back into the match, probably our own undoing, to be fair. But we held out quite well. And I don't think the 3 points were ever in doubt, really.
That was your second win of the season. Are you surprised by the start that you've made?
Not really, and to be honest, I think our pre-season, we got the boys together really early. We got the guys together in the first week of June with our management setup. But there's myself, James, and Dave Hewitt, and we knew what it took. We know what it takes to compete at this level, and we really did focus on raising the standards in what the boys need to do. So getting them together in early June really was the catalyst of what we were trying to achieve. We worked on fitness through the month of June, bringing quite a few players in as well. A lot of new players have arrived at the club, and it was a really good time to integrate the players with each other, and also really get the guys to look at the standards that we are setting and what's going to be expected of them this year. And in fairness to the guys, they've really taken it on board really quickly. So, am I surprised at our good start? Not really, because we've got a lot of talent that's come into the club. But what I am surprised at is probably maybe how quick the boys have really undertook what we're trying to do here. I think we might surprise a lot of teams this year. To be fair, we've got a good group of lads, and we're putting more depth into the squad. So, a good start, a very good start, and it's just maintaining that now, really.
Now, you mentioned that you've brought some players in this season, and for the Portishead fans, are there any names that they particularly should be excited to be watching out for this season?
Definitely. What we've also tried to do with bringing players in is also local lads that have left, that maybe were at Portishead before or living in the area that have gone elsewhere, and we've really sort of targeted quite a few of those lads to come back to Portishead and try and buy into what we're trying to do as a club. One very exciting signing for us was young Mitch Osmond, who was at Cleveland Town playing for the under-18s. Mitch has come in with, he's turned down a few offers elsewhere to really sort of buy into what we are trying to do at the club. So I think Mitch will impress a lot of people this season. Only a young lad, very, very professional in his outlook, in his preparation, at training before games, and that's been rewarded. He skippered the side for the first 3 games of the season, which, for such a young lad might sound quite unusual, but this guy can set the standards, and all the other players are already, looking up to him and trying to match those standards, which is excellent. Another couple of young lads as well that have come back to the club. Jordan Falls, he was at Bishop Sutton, but he's a local boy. He was at Portishead a few years ago. He's come back in, and another young lad is really impressed on the training field, and also when he's played in his first few games. So, yeah, there's quite a few, Ian. I could sit here and tell you probably about a little bit about most of the lads, but hopefully the fans that do come and watch, the Posset faithful, hopefully they've liked what they've seen so far, and we can maintain to impress them each Saturday.
Yeah, I'm sure they have done, and obviously we don't want to be giving too much away, do we, Eamonn? Because I do know that a lot of your managerial brethren, they do enjoy these interviews and they want to know who to watch out for. It's a funny balance, isn't it, between getting the fans excited? Because it's been a difficult couple of seasons for Portishead, isn't it? You've been at the wrong end of the First Division, and you sound genuinely optimistic that you can turn that around this season.
Yes, we do. It has been a difficult few years for Portishead, and they probably have been, a few relegation battles, as it were, or certainly been at the wrong end of the table. And what we try to do this year, it really is to bring the club together more. It's been a little bit detached between first team reserves. Talking to a few of the lads that have been around the club for a few years, the standards that have been in place maybe not have been adhered to as strictly as they could have been. When I come in last year, the coach last year at the club, Alan Tyers, absolutely fantastic coach. Worked with him on the training field and was fantastic. And Alan probably didn't have the commitment from a certain. Maybe all the players that were at the club, and then having players that are not at your disposal makes it very difficult. Also, we had the last couple of years, we would have had the university lads coming in and out of the club, and the continuity is not there with a team. So we've kind of addressed that this year, and that's what myself and Dave and James have really sort of looked at and put together a squad that, we've got more depth. These guys that are going to be available week in, week out, and really sort of, have them working with each other and also against each other. They're raising the bar for each other and playing for their shirt. And I think that will be the telltale sign this year of where we go. So, yeah, exciting times, and hopefully pushing in the right direction.
Well, you're going to have an exciting month in the month of August, let alone looking ahead of that. But really, but 2 matches coming up before the end of this month. You've got Warminster on Saturday, and we're all interested to see. Warminster, of course, finished strongly last season. We're expecting good things of them this season, but it's still very early days. And then you've got a trip to Odd Down in the Vars. Now, obviously that's taking on Premier Division opposition, but still a really good test for you and your team.
Yeah, certainly. And we are looking to test ourselves against these sides. Looking to compete is the main thing. I think technically the lads are very capable. We've got probably maybe to 16, 17, 18 boys, I think, that can all compete at this level technically. And now where we want to take them is the attitude. If they work hard, if they put the dedication in, then who knows what we can achieve. But that comes from working hard on the training ground, that comes from being committed to training, and also really battling hard for your shirt when you have it. And this competition for places will really push us on. Warminster, yeah, we've had a little look at them. Dave knows them from last year. I think Dave may have played against them last year, so he knows they're a very well organised side and will be a very difficult team to play. It is one of the teams that we've probably earmarked this year for being up there. So we've kind of pinpointed the games that we know that are going to be very difficult. Not that there's going to be any easy games in this division, but certainly the teams that we know where we're going to be, at what level we're going to be. And what we can maybe sort of achieve this year. And Warminster is certainly one of those sides. Our pre-season, I never looked to put an easy pre-season together for my teams, wherever I've been. And we did play 3 Premiership teams in pre-season, and I know you can't judge everything on results, but we can certainly judge where we were on how the boys can compete, and we did well. We did well against Premier opposition, so Odd Down will be a nice test for us. Also, the cups. I always like the cups. I think that it's a little bit of a time for the boys to go out and relax a little bit more and to express themselves a little bit more and enjoy the games and the pressure away from the league. So, the league is our priority this year. So, hopefully we can go out and impress against Odd Down and give a good account for ourselves.
And my thanks to Eamonn for his time. Now, moving on to our next featured game, a team that I seem to always be talking up on the podcast, and I'm putting a terrible hex on them, so I really need to stop. It was Corsham Town. The visitors were Bishop's Lydeard, another good 3-figure crowd at Corsham, but I don't think the home fans would have gone home particularly happy here.
No, it was a win for the visitors this time round. Bishop's Lydeard started the season well, a 3-2 win, and it was a little bit tense for them at the end, but they claimed the 3 points. 7 goals for them last week, and they were in the mood once again, and led by 3 goals this time round. Ben Hebditch, Ryan Brereton, and then Ben Cottrell getting on the score sheet, and it looked to be a pretty elementary away win. But Corsham, we know they've got some firepower, and they managed to grab a few goals in the final 10 minutes. John Basley and Lewis McCarran setting up a grandstand finish, and they came exceedingly close to grabbing an equaliser, but it wasn't to be, and they were left just short, and it was Bishop's Lydeard who claimed the 3-2 win.
Now, we had Radstock Town on last week because we interviewed Brett Partner after that fantastic result against Corsham. They were in action at the weekend. They had another fantastic result, this time away at Hengrove. Again, arguably the standout result in the First Division, winning by 4-1. But our next featured game features Sherborne Town. Of course, the hosts of last season's Les Phillips Cup final, and the visitors were Bristol Telephones, and it was a good day at the office for Sherborne.
It was, and in fact, this was the only victory for a home side in the First Division on Saturday afternoon. So obviously, plenty of away success in the division and a couple of draws, obviously. But Sherborne running out 2-1 winners over the Telephones, and it was goals from Hayden Hodges and then Joe Smith helping fire them to a 2-1 win.
And then finally, on Saturday the 17th of August, in the First Division, Wells City took on Ashton and Backwell United. Ashton and Backwell, of course, did very well last season. I've been interested to see how they started this season, and it's been pretty positive.
Yeah, this was their first win of the season, but a win away at Wells, who had a winning run coming into this one. So ended that one in the process, and it was 2 goals from Callum Townsend. He had a good season last time out, so he's back among the goals. A brace for him, and there was also a first half strike from Paul Uppington to give them a 3-1 win away at Wells. But it was a big day at Wells for the club, and Mark Rendall making his 600th appearance for the club, which is an incredible achievement. There's something in the bulletin and something on the website, on the Toolstation website, with a picture of him receiving his award from president of the club, Paul, his father. And so obviously from both of us, congratulations to Mark. And I don't know, it might be 700 before long, but quite an achievement. And unfortunately they fell to Ashton Backwell on the weekend, but a successful career he's having so far, and plenty more to come.
Yeah, an incredibly impressive achievement. So I'm sure, despite Saturday's result, a good time was still had by all. We have got a little bit of Monday night football for you, because of where we don't want to give too much of the magic away about how we put the podcast together, but we probably are by telling you that we can have a quick recap on the Monday night game. It was a big game in the First Division, and it featured, of course, a side that we've already covered once today, Cairn Town, but a slightly better result for Cairn on this occasion, Tom.
Yeah, indeed. Rebounding from the defeat on Friday. With a 5-0 win home to early season strugglers Hengrove. 2 goals in the first half from Josh Hard, and then leading scorer Stuart Windsor. And then they pushed on in the final 20 minutes, adding a few more against, obviously, as I say, a struggling Hengrove side. Jake Allen scoring in the 71st minute. There was 2 more goals for Stuart Windsor, so obviously that helped complete his hat-trick. I think he's up to 7 league goals already this season, having a whirlwind start to the campaign, and Cairn back on track.
Now we take our usual look at the up-and-coming fixtures. Plenty of games, particularly in the Premier Division, to talk about on Tuesday the 20th of August, but we're not going to do that, because by the time you listen to this, they'll have all happened, including the one that I hope to be at, although that's not in the Premier Division, but if I'm not giving away too much there. Again, there's every chance that you'll be listening to this after the games on Wednesday, but there are 2 very interesting fixtures that have caught my eye. Plymouth Parkway against Exmouth Town, a real battle of a clash of the Titans there, and Tavistock, of course, who suffered that defeat at home to Bradford Town. They take on Buckland Athletic, who haven't really set the world alight so far this season, but I'm sure that will be a very hotly contested Devon derby as well. So 2 very interesting fixtures that are to be played in the midweek. So the story of the fixtures coming up on Saturday the 24th of August is very much the FA Cup preliminary round. And which fixture has tickled your fancy in that match-up there, Tom?
Definitely a lot to choose from. I think the one I've plumped for, mainly because you've got a few of the other ones, is Street versus Willand. The 2 previous Premier Division champions, of course. Obviously Street now, a bit of a new dawn for them, but they've started this season really well, and they get a home tie against Willand, who obviously we know last year stormed to success in the Western League and have gone on to pastures new. But it will be good to see how they're getting on to start their season, and tough trip to the Tannery Ground to take on an ambitious Street side.
Well, there are about 3 fixtures that I could have chosen. One of the, again, it'd be interesting to see how Tavistock get on in midweek, because they take on Frome Town. I think that looks like it could be a very good game. Plymouth Parkway against Poulton Rovers. Poulton, of course, a team close to my heart. That will be I think that's going to be a really competitive game. I think Poulton are going to go well this season, but I'm also really impressed with Plymouth Parkway, and particularly on their home ground. I don't think that they've got anything to fear from them, and I have to give a passing mention, don't I, to my former hometown club, Melksham Town. They travel to Shepton Mallet. Now, Melksham, now managed by Richard Fay, remember him of Street fame, of course, listeners. They'll be really up for that, I'm sure, but Shepton will give them a game, and I think probably Shepton, I wouldn't be surprised if we look back over the annals that Shepton didn't give Richard Fay's sides in their various incarnations over the years a good game, so that'd be an interesting one. One thing, have you noticed, Tom, that in the FA Cup we've got a lot of matches between Western League sides and Southern League sides? I think Parkway have got every chance of progressing against Poulton Rovers, and that is certainly not denigrating Poulton at all. That I think that's going to be a really competitive game. Tavy against Frome is an interesting one. Any matches there where you think you're looking at the Western League side and you think to yourself, you know what, I think they could do a job against higher level opposition?
Yeah, probably have to back some of the home teams. I think it's probably a bit more difficult for the likes of Exmouth and Roman Glass, who've got tough away trips. But yeah, Bitton obviously having suffered defeat on the weekend. They'll be up for this one. They take on Mangotsfield at home, and we know Bitton. They know where the back of the net is. Obviously, yeah, as I say, tough defeat last weekend, but that might have stoked the fire for them. As you said, give them every chance of taking on and maybe progressing against Mangotsfield.
Now we're going to just conclude our review of the fixtures by having a look in the First Division. We've got 3 games in the Premier Division on as well, but a fuller set of fixtures in the First Division. And which of those catches your eye, Tom?
Gone for Radstock Wells, 2 of the early season pace setters, I suppose you can say. It's obviously still very early, hence we don't look at any league tables or anything like that just at the moment. But yeah, 2 of those teams that have started well, and a clash for them on Saturday afternoon, which I'm looking forward to seeing how that one pans out.
Excellent stuff. You've slightly stolen my thunder with that, of course, because I do like a bit of the old the miners. But I'm going to go for actually, there's a couple I could go for here, because Portishead are at home to Warminster. I think that'll be a good game. The one I am going to go for, the standout game, I think, is Lebec against Cheddar. Lebec, of course, the league's new boys. They've shown what they can do since they've entered this league, and I know that when we spoke to their manager, he certainly talked a very good game. I think that they're a package that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Cheddar have started incredibly well, and I think really are rightly considered one of the favourites to sort of, hopefully for promotion this season. So I think that's going to be a really competitive, really, really exciting game. We don't have any. We're not getting too caught up in the old in the tables or the statistics. Although it is interesting to see, isn't it? After 3 games, a side that wins 2 out of 3. If you can turn that into 3 out of 4, we are starting, I think, to see some of the teams that are looking good. And I think equally, when we look at, say, the poor form of the likes of Bridport and Hengrove, we might be seeing signs of teams that are going to struggle this season.
Yeah, obviously, as we've said, still really early days, and it's a little too early to read into things like that. But yeah, the form is there, and as you say, Hengrove, following on from another defeat on Monday, they're going to have to start picking up points. Obviously, it's way too early to talk about relegation battles and things like that, but this could come back to haunt them come the end of the season. So looking ahead, they've taken on Almondsbury this weekend, for instance. They'll see that as a chance to maybe hit back and get their first point of the season, and stop conceding at the heavy rate they are at the moment. Likewise, Bridport are away on Saturday afternoon in the league as well against Cadbury Heath, who've not shut out the traps. So early days, but maybe a bit of cause for concern for a couple of clubs.
Excellent stuff, Tom. Thank you very much indeed. We have, of course, been reviewing your excellent bulletin. Where can the listeners find that?
That is on the on the Toolstation website. You can download that in Word and PDF format, and that's up every Sunday afternoon. Excellent, Tom.
Now I'm giving you next week off. I feel like Scrooge and you're Bob Cratchit, but it's I'm having a holiday. So you've got a week off, listeners. You enjoy your Western League football, but we'll be coming back refreshed and that much stronger in early September. But from Tom and myself, you've been listening to the Toolstation Western League podcast.